Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go and I must bide.
What's this? From War to War, the diaries of Lieutenant Thomas Middleton. So this seems to be like a soldier's diary. I wonder what's inside. Dear Diary, my name is Thomas James Middleton and I am 18 years old. I am a soldier from Dorchester in the United Kingdom. A couple of days ago, our Prime Minister Asquith, announced that Britain would be entering the Great War. Like all of my friends, I signed up as a soldier to defend our glorious country. Britain declared war on Germany after they threatened to take over Belgium. Tomorrow, I begin my journey to training camp, after which I will be deployed to the Western Front. I am so excited.
August 26, 1914. I've been in camp in France for about a week now, and the atmosphere here is extremely tense. Originally, the war was called because of tensions between Austria-Hungary and Serbia, following the assassination of Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand. However, because of our alliance in the Triple Entente, Britain joined the war to fight against Austria and its Fritz allies. While I am not a treasonous individual, I do have to question our involvement in this conflict. Wouldn't it be better to stay out of the fight? Nevertheless, I have to say the war life is not as grand as I imagined it to be. We had to dig trenches for almost the whole day and place duck boards on the bottom of the trench to provide secure footing. In addition, we had to lay out barbed wire for miles in front of our lines. The food is often dirty and there are rats the size of small dogs. I hope things will get better, or this will be a long enlistment. September 7th, 1914. Yesterday, the enemy attacked us after a squadron came back from patrol. We have been stranded here in Marne for a day now, and the shooting seems to never stop. Even now, as I take a moment to compose myself in the barracks, I can hear my friends dying from gunshots, mortars, and shells. The few friends I've made, where are they now? Are they safe, or are they face first in the dirt of no man's land? Will I ever know? The sergeant is back. He says we must prepare for the next assault. I must leave my thoughts here for now and pray to God that I don't die over the top. September 10th, 1914. The battle has finally ended, and after many long days of fighting, the Allied forces have reached a victory. The Germans have retreated and have begun digging trenches on the banks of the Aisne River, where they seem to have remained. Our forces will begin digging tomorrow as well, and it appears that our strategy will be to hold down our trenches in order to win the fight. There is no end in sight, so the war may continue for quite a long time. The battle has left us all shaken. Even now, the death count continues to climb, and several of the friends I have made here in camp or in training are dead. We cannot bury their bodies due to the danger of being shot in no man's land, and so they are left out on the field, surrounded by filth and rats. I fear what will happen to my deceased friends. It feels like we will all be forgotten here, far from home. November 9th, 1916. 2 long years have passed, and while I am now 21, I feel more like a beast than a man. The war in the trenches has remained stagnant for ages, and it feels like home is so far away. Occasionally, new soldiers will bring us letters or remarks from family, but overall, all our information about the world outside comes from our commanding officers. They say that Asquith is stepping down as Prime Minister and that David Lloyd George will replace him. Other than that, the government seems stagnant too. I have been stationed here at Somme for the past couple of months, and yesterday one of the longest and bloodiest battles in my time as a soldier has come to a conclusion. The scouts are saying that possibly 1 million men are lost in battle, and their bodies have yet to be found. We all feel lost now, and many of us fear that we shall not return to our families alive, or even return at all. I wish to see my family again, and I wish the war would end soon. November 25th, 1919. After 4 years, the war has finally ended. It officially ended on November 11th, 1918, after the Germans surrendered following the 100 Days Offensive. The Allied commanders, Lloyd George, U.S. President Wilson, the French Prime Minister Clemenceau, and the Italian Prime Minister Orlando, are meeting currently in Paris to sign the Treaty of Versailles, which will officially end the war and place strict reparations and restrictions on Germany so as to prevent future wars. The process will take a while, but there are talks about forming a League of Nations that will hopefully bring peace to us all. As for me, I'm finally back home with my family and sweetheart, but it no longer feels like home. Most of my friends are gone, lost in war, leaving their families devastated. Food is hard to come by due to inflated prices, and almost all the jobs in the country have been taken over by others. Since I managed to retain all of my limbs during the war, I was one of the lucky ones who was able to continue working. Many others are no longer able to work, as many are disabled or traumatized from the experience. It seems like a whole generation has been lost. June 15th, 1933. Life for the past decade has had its ups and downs. A year after the war ended, I got married and had a son, Will. He's 11 years old now, but still asks me about the war. I tell him the stories as best as I can, hoping that if he does one day face war, he understands the reality of it all. I pray to God that he never has to face war, but with the state of things currently, that may be inevitable. There are rumors around London regarding the German nation, especially regarding Adolf Hitler, the new Chancellor of the Reich, who is a fascist. People say that Hitler is power hungry and he wants to get rid of all the Jews and minorities in Germany, and that he's wishing to favor an elite race of Aryan Germans. It feels like another war is brewing, but hopefully it is resolved peacefully. For me, the biggest threat is here at home, where this economy has spiraled downward. The people are calling it a Great Depression, and the unemployment rate has skyrocketed. I'll have to hold on to my job in order to make it through these years. September 3rd, 1939. Today the government announced the unthinkable. The Germans, led by the now Führer Adolf Hitler, have invaded Poland, and after an ultimatum, the British have declared war on Germany. The draft is being called up again, and it is very likely that I will have to return to the service. I don't want to go back to war, but I will have to go in order to protect my family and my son. He may be 17, but I don't want him ever to see war. I will do my best to ensure that. February 15th, 1941. I returned to the war, this time as a colonel and strategist for the war effort. I am currently stationed in London, where I am assisting the generals and commanders in planning an assault against the Nazis in France. After the Battle of Dunkirk, our forces are largely forced off of the mainland, and it was a miracle that we even managed to evacuate as many soldiers as we did. Now we are planning a new assault on the Nazis, called Operation Overlord, which, despite being risky, may be our best chance of defeating the Nazis. Regarding my family, I have heard rumors that my son, Will, has secretly enlisted in the army as a field soldier. I haven't been able to contact my wife, so I do not know if this is true or not. I hope not. If my son dies, I don't know what will happen and what I will do. September 4th, 1945. The Second World War has ended. Operation Overlord was a decisive success, allowing the Allied forces to storm the beaches of Normandy and regain land in Europe. After that, the Nazis' forces became surrounded on both fronts by the Allies, and as the Soviet soldiers closed in on the Nazi command, Adolf Hitler committed suicide. The Germans then surrendered, which led to a complete Axis surrender. After the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the Americans, the Allies have won. I have now returned home from service and have been awarded medals for my service. However, the price is extremely high. My son Will, after secretly enlisting, has died in the war. He died during the Battle of the Bulge during the last days of the war in Europe. He has He was last seen helping one of his fellow soldiers back to a shelter when a bullet struck him in the chest. His sacrifice helped save a man's life and helped to end the Germans' offensive. To me, his death is a wound from which I will never heal.
October 27, 1962. It's been 15 years since the war, and my world has returned relatively to the way it was before. Despite this, the world feels as if it is broiling and waiting for another war. For instance, I just got off the phone with an old American war friend, and during the call he told me about how Americans and the Soviet Union have been caught in political tensions for several years now. The people of the US are referring to it as a Cold War, and recently there have been extremely high tensions due to the discovery of USSR missiles in Cuba. I hope he is alright. The last thing we need is a mutually assured destruction. Overall, my life has reached a peaceful point for once, but yet I am worrying about what the future will hold. If someone in the future ever reads this journal, I pray that they take the lessons of the past wisely and keep my story in mind as they proceed with their lives in the world.
She shot you.
Okay, let's cut it.
Cut.
Why so long? We're watching
Make it awkward.
to make sure it's full length.